kids born to teen moms. How different is your life compared to other kids? I was born to a teen mom, and a single one at that. I definitely had a lot more freedom and less supervision as a child, since both of her parents, my grandparents obviously, passed away soon after I was born. So there weren't many options for babysitters. Since she worked 2 jobs, I would often be on my own after school until about 8 or 9 at night. Sometimes later, she definitely struggled to hold down jobs due to not having an education, and the overall grind would eventually get to her. At one point she was walking 11 miles a day to and from work because we didn't have a vehicle. Eventually, we lost our home and we remained in and out of shelters until I was about 12. I learned a lot about the world in those days. At the time I hated it and was jealous of other kids having normal lives. Now that I'm older, I wouldn't trade it for the world. It gave me every bit of motivation I have. It gave me better social skills, got to learn to make friends quick when you move frequently, and most importantly it taught me to be humble and never view less fortunate people as beneath me. She was diagnosed with cancer when I was 13 and died when I was 15, which sucks. Cause I grew up to be a good person and good father. Would love to have her around to see it. Out of all these stories, this one got to me, man. Your mom tried her best to provide for you, and that means a lot. I'm sure she's looking down from heaven at you and proud of the person you've become. Keep that motivation and good energy going. I will definitely try. I've noticed that I didn't have the same opportunities as other kids, because being a teen mom can lead you down a road of struggle and poverty if you don't have help from family. I've always wanted to play sports, but she could never afford the equipment needed at school to be a part of it. Mentally, I've had to mature faster at a young age because she was still a kid herself. It's unnerving to think teachers would tell me I seemed older than my age at 10 years old. I still remember not being able to afford soccer seasons for my daughter, and it still hurts. I had that experience as a kid. My mom was 19 when she had me. She was from a third world country on top of it. There was a year I stopped playing soccer because there wasn't enough money. There was also the year I asked for a Sega Genesis from Santa a couple of years earlier and didn't get it, and my mom made up some excuse about how it came, but it was missing a part. That was the year I realized Santa wasn't real and anything I asked for from Santa was coming out of her pocket. I was 6 that year. I tried to pretend I believed her, but I think she knew I knew she was lying, you know. Me being 6 and all, and not all that great at acting. I never really asked anything expensive of Santa again and only got chocolate from Santa in the following years, a tradition that continues. Whenever I'm home for Christmas, even now, when I'm in my late 30s, I still get a stocking full of chocolate from Santa. It's a beautiful little silent tradition we don't talk about that's like a reminder for when times were tough. But I know my mom carries a lot of guilt about the things she couldn't give me as a kid, that she was able to give my younger brother and sister, because their financial situation got much better right around the time my younger sister was born. I try to tell her that she shouldn't, and highlight all the things I loved about my childhood, and the intangible things I was given, because I was able to see how she was struggling, and how hard she was trying, and then got to see how her trying paid off at a young age. Those were gifts my brother and sister didn't get to have, and they are much more valuable than a season of soccer, a Sega Genesis, or whatever else I could have asked for. I hope your daughter can see it that way too. I had my daughter at 17 and holidays sucked so much in the early years because I never knew if there was money for them. I was born in 1964 when my mother was 16. Grandparents adopted me so I'd have a name. Father's family paid for the hospital bills and that was it, because they didn't want to ruin his chances to go to VMI. Mother had 3 other kids from at least 2 other men, and tried to treat me like a little sister, although a girl in 3rd grade decided it was her duty to tell me I didn't really have a daddy. 3-bedroom country farm with 4 kids. Grandparents and mother with her pedo husband was a constant fight, complete with fists and screaming almost daily. At least we could go outside. Lost a brother to a gunshot when stepfather cheated on mother and left gun down while he was leaving. Other brother accidentally shot him. Mother continued to treat me like a sister until she decided she wanted to be a mother. My grandmother was the one who raised me and the one I consider my true mother. When she died, she left me the land with her house on it, and my mother tricked me into signing it over to her. I was very naive. She accused my straight edge goth white kids, in their 30s now, of being on drugs because they wore black, and has held a remark one made about moving away when I was 16 against me to this day. My father sent me $50 when I graduated and $100 when I got married the first time. And I had no idea he was even my father until I was 23. I would have liked to have had a different childhood. My ex didn't know her father was her father until she was like 16. Yet he was a family friend the whole time. Like WTF. Mine always acted weird around me. I thought he was just a strange hippie guy. Well, he actually is lol. He still is a strange hippie. But he used to be, too. One of my friends has a teen mom. She doesn't talk about it too much, but she says that it's nice how all family members, great grandparents, are still alive. That threw me off so much. My parents had me at 40 and their parents had them around 30, so by the time I was born I already was one grandparent down and it only took a few years for the next to go. Now at the age of 22 I have none. Meanwhile my BF whose family all have had children around 18 and his great grandparents are still alive, and he goes on trips with his grandparents. My dad was almost 40 when I was born, and my mom was 36. I always had older parents and grew up with only one grandparent. I was adopted, though not uncommon for adoptees to have older parents. I've recently started looking for my biological family and found that my biological grandparents are only a few years older than my parents. It makes perfect sense, but it's still a bit of a mindfuck. Wow, that is a mindfuck. Interesting dynamic. Did you find it hard to adjust to that notion, as it would mean your biological parents/s are way younger, right? I've always kind of known/understood they would be young, but I never really thought about grandparents and that I might find them alive one day. So now I'm in some contact with my biological grandfather and it's just really crazy to think he is only a couple of years older than my dad. I texted my friend the other day and said something like, so my dad's dad is like my dad's age, which just the weirdest sentence I've written in a while. Mom was 15 when she had me. Honestly, my life sucked. She used to say that she could have given me up for adoption and then decided not to because she realized that I would love her unconditionally no matter what. Our relationship progressed pretty negatively because of that mindset of hers. Every negative thing I did was against what she thought motherhood would be like. I was something she could pick up and put down and leave behind at her leisure. There were a number of times she'd drop me off at a family member's house and disappear. Once, I came home from kindergarten and no one was there. Dad was in prison. The next morning, my uncle showed up. He had heard my mom left and had a gut feeling he needed to go to my house. There was no food and the heat had been turned off by the utility company. I don't remember much about that time other than the peanut butter and jelly sandwiches in the Demolition Man movie. She had pretty bad trauma and never processed it properly. So when she got angry due to a trauma reminder, she got really angry. When she was good, boy she was golden. She could be the most fun of a person you could ask for. But she wasn't a mother. She never held and comforted. She expected hugs and comfort. She was a kid and thought with a kid brain. When we had some spare change, she'd walk me to the ice cream place and she'd buy herself an ice cream and we'd go back home. As I got older, our already weird relationship became weirder. She told me she didn't want people to know she was my mom and I could introduce her as my sister. She would tell people that she had 3 children, my siblings, and not claim me because people would do the math. She wanted to be friends with my friends. She wanted to hang around when they were there. What I know about having a teenage mom is this: I loved her with the kind of fanatical worship that messed me up for a long time. She could be funny and cruel at the same time. When she gave you attention, your world would be brighter, but when she was mad at you, the world would be dark. She never grew out of her teenage mindset, and I had to come to grips with that. I can't say that every teenage mom is like mine, but mine was rough.